Hey, welcome to episode 2 of the Sean Donohue Show. Family, parenting, and good vibe. How's it going? Hey, so good to be with you, my fellow parents. I'm joined by my buddy, my co-host. What's up, Jordan Steele?
Mr. Sean Donohue. How are you, my friend?
Oh man, love seeing your face. Here we are, a couple of
Ditto.
grown men doing a podcast. Listen to by people from all around the world. I love our listeners. Love you. Love being here, man.
We have to say this verbally to you guys because we know how difficult it is to be a parent, and so you talk it into existence. It's a great day.
It's a great
I'm so
day.
happy.
Let's talk about
no fighting.
well, we are going to talk about some tough things today, some wonderful things. Let's talk about the people we love the most, these critters that drive us bonkers, that bring out the best in us, that bring out the worst in us. Today, we're going to talk about power struggles. Oh, in a future episode, we'll do an episode on boundaries, because my boundaries are just broken because my 5-year-old.
That's who I was waving at. I was like, hi, Maddie.
This is my 5-year-old Kenzie just broke into my
Kenzie, that's right. My apologies.
Kenzie, I love you, but I'm filming something live right now, and I need a little timeout. I got to keep filming because we do this. And so let's talk about power struggles. So here's what it is. Power struggles on the surface. What does it look like? It's actually happening to me right now. It's someone kind of violating your boundaries. On the surface, power struggles look like chores, screen, struggles with hygiene, struggles with our kids' friends, struggles with their clothing choices, struggle with their food choices, struggle with family time, siblings.
Food choices. Oh, that's so true.
Older, you're going to struggle with possibly their music choices, what they're watching on YouTube or what they're doing on a screen or other apps. Oh my gosh, the list continues. You might struggle with their grades, their school performance. School refusal has been an issue. And now here we are in 2022, school refusal is actually a huge crisis. It was already happening before COVID. And now if you have older kids, you might have seen, issues with talkback. Modern issue is dealing with so many kids who have anxiety or depression, or they're self-diagnosing themselves. That is a huge issue now. We got a bunch of WebMD experts who are like 13. We've got issues of your kids having different struggles over how they feel about politics, how they feel about religion. Oh my gosh, Jordan, I could go on and on about power.
Yeah.
Huh?
There's 3 or 4 there that I want to dive deeper in, which we'll do so in the show coming up. But I think it's so hard for us because as a parent, we want what's best for our children, right? And our parents wanted what's best for us when we were children.
Yes.
And the hard part is you got life experience there, and then you have the lack thereof. And so the people who are just now becoming into this world,
yes,
you don't really want to listen to someone who's much older than them. They want to walk the walk themselves and make mistakes and learn from themselves. But it's hard when you're a parent and you're trying to teach wisdom and you're trying to give them advice on which path to take. But the reality is they're their own people and they have to make their own decisions. And I think that's where it gets really hard, because sometimes I want to force my kid to make the right decision.
Yes, we do, because we love them and we have something they don't have. And you said it there. It's wisdom, right? We've got wisdom and they don't. And we want them to be wise and live wise lives. But like you wisely said, they have power too, and they want power. And that's where we struggle, huh, man?
Yeah. So we just saw beautiful Kenzie coming in. For those listening, she kind of snuck in and said, hi, Daddy. And I gave her a little wave. But Maddie, you have this story about your oldest, and just for people who don't know, will you kind of just break down how old is she? What stage of life is she in?
So yeah, part of our podcast is we're just going to do a lot of storytelling to make you laugh, to relate to you, to empower you, and to give you some tools.
Yeah.
So we're going to share a bunch of stories today. And here's a story. So, on the surface, that's what power struggle seems about. On the surface, this story is about a then 13-year-old girl who has money because she's has a nanny position at age 13, 14. My daughter was working a pretty serious nanny job. So she's bringing in some money. And what do you think 14-year-old girls want to spend money on? One of the things they want to spend money on is freaking candy.
Yeah.
So we got an issue where she's bringing candy to the house, into her room, and she's eating candy, and she's now giving it to her 2 younger sisters. Not cool, man. Not cool, right? I mean,
well, she's sharing. That's kind.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing's caring. It's not a bad thing. At least she's not hoarding it.
But yeah, I mean, if you ask a parent, tell me about 10 power struggles you're having with your kids, parents are like, only 10, right? Because on the surface, those are, but underneath, what is really power struggle really about? It's really about emotions. As us parents, feeling powerless, feeling unheard, feeling scared.
So I have a question.
Feeling like disrespected, like a failure. Yes.
She's 13, 14. She's making money. Did she go out and buy this on her own? Or did she say, hey, mom, dad, can I go and buy this? Can I use my money on this? Did she ask?
More of a power struggle. Whether your kids get allowance or they have a job, they're going to want to, that's just another issue. So yeah. So let me ask you, what do you think we did, man? So,
well, I mean, I guess what I wanted to say is, did she ask permission to buy the candy? And then did she, okay. So she just went out and did it. Okay. Now I'm getting the clear picture.
She was very independent.
Yes. Okay. She went out and bought candy. She's eating it behind your back.
Yeah. And we're finding wrappers in her bedroom.
Wrappers are everywhere. She's a candyaholic.
You're not cool like that.
And now she's sharing the sugar with her siblings. And now they're all just sugar-fied in your house, running around like crazy, bouncing off walls.
And we got fears of cavities. We got people sitting eating their dinner.
Okay. Well, then you probably would have done.
What do you think? What are some options?
Option A is probably what I would have done. I would have walked up to her room and I would have said, where's the candy? I would have grabbed it and I would have took it away. No candy, at least for a week, and I'd hide it.
Now that's a fine approach, right? That's you using your power, authoritarian. Right. No one's eating candy in this house without my permission, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What other things what else do you think
Well, knowing that you're, Mr. Sean Donohue, parent coach, you could have sat down, you could have talked her through the problems of what it means to do something bad behind your back. I probably would have went straight with the dentist approach. Like, do you want your teeth to rot? Like, you cannot do this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a normal approach. In fact, on my very powerful parenting assessment, helps parents to understand their buttons and their reactions. And a common reaction is a pep talk. So you're going to try to lecture them or pep talk them into not eating that candy. Good luck with that.
Right.
All right.
And then the last thing to do is you could take the candy away. You could try to give them pep talks and not eat the candy, or you could just ground them for a sense of lying to you and sneaking behind your back. And that's that.
Yeah. We can rules and then give groundings or punishments, taking phones away. Or how about this? I mean, a lot of parents would be like, she's 13, kids will be kids.
Kids will be kids.
He's just going to sneak it anyway, or they're going to lie. What are you going to do? Right. Or some parents would be like, well, I eat a lot of candy myself. So
right.
Right. I want to come back. This is a very unique story. And I'm very, I'll tell you how I responded. It's very, very unusual response. And I think you're going to like it. And I'll incorporate that into this podcast. But yeah, man, when you think about these power struggles that you're facing with your 3 kids, what are some things that come up for you, man?
That's a big one, right? But the thing that I have
hygiene or
candy, eating candy. Yeah.
Really?
Same thing. We got a drawer. We have a drawer. Like, let's say we have Halloween candy, right? And we put it in a drawer and we shut the door every day. They go in the drawer and they want to get some of the candy. And I'm asking my wife, and why do we have this drawer? I don't like candy, but
you don't like candy?
I'm not a big candy guy. No, I'll eat ice cream all day or chocolate chip cookies. But when it comes to candy,
jam. Yeah.
So the good thing is they've learned to ask, which is great. Okay. Can I have this? Can I have this? And there are times when no, you cannot.
Are they asking like 3 times a day every?
Oh yeah. They're asking all the time, all day long. But at least they're asking. So I'm trying to get them into, they're not sneaking it.
It's shocking how many kids they sneak stuff and then they're like the criminals. They're like the worst liars. Like,
I know.
They sneak stuff, and like I tell this to a lot of my parent clients and teen clients. Like, man, you're the worst criminal. You get caught for everything. Continue.
But I would say the biggest power struggle we're having right now with kids is, and I've come to learn this over parenting. Maybe it's due to all the candy eating. So sugar intake is big, or the lack of sleep is big. So then we get into late in the day and we get into these moods and we get into this, them being disrespectful. So just over the weekend, we had a situation where we were with some friends, the kids got into it and we came down, we sat down, both dads were talking to the kids. Okay, you guys done? Say you're sorry. One said they're sorry, and my kid's like, no, I'm not going to say I'm sorry.
Your kid
And
said your kid or the other kid?
yes, my kid.
Your
And
kid.
I was like, buddy, you need, like, we're done with this. You need to apologize. I'm not apologizing to him. I didn't do anything wrong. And
Oh,
I'm like,
power, man.
right.
Power
So then
struggle.
he's going in a step further. And now I'm in a situation where I'm like, I need my kid to say I'm sorry because we have to settle this right now. We've got other dads around. We
And
just
you're
need to
kind
move.
of, it might be embarrassing for you. It's like,
Yes. Like,
now.
yeah.
Do you the other dad well, or is he?
Yes, of course. We're really close. We
Oh,
texted
okay.
after, like, so we were trying to get the air clear so we can move forward. And my son stuck to his guns.
Yeah.
And so then what is my job? My job is to figure out how to get this kid to say sorry right now, or that is it. We got to go home.
You're thinking. I can give you some other ideas.
I want to hear those.
That traditional parenting.
Yes.
Is forced apologies. I don't teach that. I don't believe in it, but please. And so, okay, please tell me what happened.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what happened, and then you could coach me throughout the show.
Only if you want coaching.
I do. Of course I do. Of course. We all do. Because a lot of people listening have been in this situation where you're trying to get your kid to do something. Like, let's say it's as simple as saying, thank you, or yes, please, or just using manners. And they're like, no. And you're like,
common struggle with
that's a common struggle.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the next level. So it got to a situation where I realized the reason why he didn't want to apologize is because he was beyond tired. He was beyond tired, exhausted, unreasonable. So I'm like, all right, bud, we got to go home. It's time to that's fine. You don't have to say I'm sorry, but we got to go home. I'm sorry. And then he's like, no.
Birthday party? Because I know you went to 2 in one day.
No, this wasn't even the birthday party. This was just a get together, like a backyard barbecue. So anyway, I said, we need to go home. And then he said, no, I don't want to go home. And then it gets into another power struggle. And I'm like,
were you saying you got to go home as a form of discipline, or as a form of, look, like, this kid is a mess, or is it both? We got to get him out.
It was discipline in his eyes because he wouldn't apologize. In my eyes, it was, I need to get him home anyway because he is so overly tired. Yeah. Something else is going to happen.
All right.
And I knew he needed to go to bed.
All right. So for those of you listening at home, so, Jordan and I, we purposely do this podcast, partly very planned and very structured, and very partly spontaneous. So while I wasn't aware that Jordan was going to say this story, most of what Jordan says on this podcast, I don't know what he's going to say. But one thing we do know is that he's given me permission to coach him, to parent coach him. And sometimes he's not even going to ask me. It's just because it's hard. So whatever parent struggle you're in, I'm going to give you, when we come to the section of the podcast called Ask the Family Coach, I'm going to give Jordan some specific and some general ways of solving this and all of his all power struggles, and you too. So let's put that on the shelf and let's come back. So in the end, did you end up bouncing from that party and going home? What happened?
Let me just say, I'm so glad I have a partner in crime when it comes to parenting. Yes. Being a single parent has got to be really frustrating and tough, because when I was getting a little heated because I was frustrated at him, I'm go up to my wife and say, it's time for you to take Kaden home right now, because I had to watch the other two.
Right.
And you need to get him to bed. And what Danny did is what the loving mother she did perfect. She sat and talked with him for about 45 minutes to really get inside his head as to the why he was doing what he was doing.
Wow. At the barbecue, 45 minutes?
They sat in the car probably for 30, and then they talked another 15 at the house.
So he must have been exhausted, but he must have done okay in that alone time with his mom.
He must have, yes.
Really processed, because that's a long talk for long talk. That's 7 years old, 45 minutes.
Yeah, he went home and he didn't go to bed, but he was detached from the party. He wasn't allowed to come back. But Danny even said, my wife's and Danny, she says, I'm not mad at Kaden at all for what he did. I'm like, really?
What a twist in the story.
I know.
What a twist in the story. That's like, it makes me wonder really what's going on. It makes me also think of a story about one of my clients. He's playing lacrosse, and one of his teammates is getting attacked on the lacrosse field just recently. I wasn't there to see this. I heard about the story. He's getting beat up on the lacrosse field. So what does he do? He comes out of nowhere. He totally takes this kid out who's attacking his teammate.
Yes.
He knocks him over and he starts punching on him. Now keep in mind, lacrosse, so they have helmets
and shoulder pads. Yep.
And he gets suspended for this action. And there's a lot of people in society that would be like, oh, that's a bad action. But there's also a lot of people in society that'd be like, that's a great action, because he's really standing up for himself in a very powerful way. That's kind of what happened. I don't really want to get into what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock right now on this episode, because we have other things to impact. But like what, that's talk about power and a power struggle. You're aware of what happened last night, right?
100%.
Oh yeah. Who can't? Like, I mean, everyone's phone is blowing up.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like
and there are clearly two sides. Yes, there's a side
complex.
that sees it as that was messed up, and there's a side that says no, he stood up for his wife.
Not
right?
Complex, you're wrong. It's just it is complex. Is physically assaulting somebody wrong? Sure, of course it is. But then I just said the story about lacrosse, right? And it's like and really this is why we're having this topic. It's to like, on this podcast, we want to talk about things that people don't normally talk about. It's like an iceberg we're raising out of the water. So remember, power struggles are never really about what they're about. That is a great thing. You're going to hear me coach you. Parenting is never about what it's about. It's not about what's happening on the surface. It's always about what's under the surface. And this happens because you could have even started a power struggle with your wife, because when you were modeling how you approached your wife, Danny, say, we got to get him out of here.
Yeah.
A lot of couples, that would actually start a power struggle right there, because the wife's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm having a great barbecue. I mean some brisket right now, and don't tell me how to parent, right? No, we're not going to. And so this is what's so challenging, because as adults, we all crave power. We want power. We want to feel powerful. And it's good for us to feel powerful. It's good. It's just normal, human. But there's a few things in life that in these institutions, in these experiences, we feel so powerless. And one of them is called marriage, and one of them is called parenting. And don't you just feel so powerless in parenting sometime, my man?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what I said at the start of the show, how it's like you want what's best for your kid. And sometimes we think we know what's best for our kid, and we want to shove our kid into that direction. And the reality is they are a person of their own, willing to make their own decisions and to walk their own path. And so it's hard as a parent if you see them going down a path that you think is wrong, or that is actually wrong, but you can't force anybody to do something, because then they're not learning themselves.
So when you say it's hard, do you relate to these? Do you feel these feelings? Powerless, unheard, scared, disrespected, like a failure, taken advantage of? Like what emotions came up for you?
I would say
you're trying to force
scared. Scared. Sorry, what? What was I scared of? I'm sorry. I would say I want to make sure I'm giving my kids the best knowledge at that stage of life to make the right decisions, because as we know in this society, in this world, one wrong decision can be ultimately your last, or it could haunt you for the rest of your life. So that's what I would be scared of, that. Scared of them hurting themselves in some way. Failure as a parent would also fall in that same category of being scared.
Yeah. And I think about this silly situation with a 13, 14-year-old bringing candy to the house. I'm really scared for her hygiene. I'm scared for cavities. I'm scared that this is going to become a pattern, because this was becoming a cycle in our home. I call it a fear cycle, where we were cycling around this topic of her bringing candy in the home. And I'm like, scared. Well, this is the beginning of a deterioration of our teenager relationship. Like, this is the first, it's all going to hell from here, right? It's like,
because what happens when she turns 18, 19, 20, and that candy turns into, bottles of alcohol? I know so many people would sneak it in the house, and they would have a similar problem hoarding alcohol instead of candy, but it was at an older stage of life.
Right. So here, when we think about, I want to really in wise, cool ways, I want to learn how to try to incorporate our childhood into this podcast in cool ways. So when you think about power, when you were a young adult, tween, teen, college student, do you have any stories that come up for you of you feeling really powerful? Or are you really feeling powerless? Anything come to mind for you?
I was always like that. I was smaller, I guess I could say, kind of like a skater style body type, skinny, skateboarder, depending on what age you're listening to, what that would look like. Skinnier. I played football. I was on the drama team too. So I kind of mixed in a lot of extracurriculars. I also played badminton. So I was kind of blending very well. But whenever it came to, like, let's say being on the football field and you are trying to be heard and are trying to be seen, it can be very difficult because you got a lot of testosterone there. A lot of people are trying to be heard and to be seen, and therefore power struggles gets physical.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
And so I would never make it that far because I know I would never compete. So I would just get my head smashed in.
You're gonna fight with the big old football player.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight. So I'll let them take the power that they want, and just I'll know that I'll move on and give them to them in that moment, and not stand up for my rights or whatever it is.
All right. Well, finish the story, because so you would back down to these larger guys. They're both, but then were you just a big pushover? How did you? Then,
I guess
powerful sport, and you were a very good player. You started on a very good varsity team in a big school, so you were a really good player. But where would you get power then?
So I don't know how I could break this down. I don't know if I was wise in thinking about this or if it just naturally happened. I'm a very kind person, so I was always very nice to everybody. But it's almost like I became friends with some of the bigger jocks.
Yeah.
So
you were in the cool crowd, cool football.
And if it ever got into a situation where there was a power struggle where I needed to be heard, I had people in my corner of the ring to help me be heard.
Right. Well, I knew you back then, right? I mean, I was your adult mentor, but let me, I feel like you're missing something. So let me tell you something from my point of view as an older man in your life. I wasn't much older, 7 years. I was still a young man. And let me compliment you at the same time. Jordan, you were then, and you still are. You're incredibly likable, incredibly popular, incredibly charming. So I can't speak for you, but it seems to me you were getting power through your social inclusion. Like you were,
that makes sense,
very included. And you were liked by all types of people, very rare. And you were like that fun, charming Jordan Steele is now on TV.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
that makes sense.
So powerful that way. Like I
would never feel powerful. It was just, that's my being nice, being kind, and kind of going from one group of people to the next, and just, being friends with everybody. So I would never say that was my sense of power, but I guess that did give me, I was recognizable. A lot of people knew who I was. And so therefore being quote unquote popular would then ultimately, I guess, have some kind of power subliminally. Yes.
Well, this is actually why I asked, and this is for all you parents listening at home. This is kind of what we do in this podcast, what I do in the Parents Club. I'm trying to help Jordan right now play around with words and help him identify words, because essentially, like, a huge part of what I do is, is high level emotional intelligence teaching and education in this podcast and in my work. And so, people, like, it's not pretty typical for like a high school student to say, I feel very powerful at my school.
Right. You would never say that. Yeah.
I feel very included. I feel very respected. I feel heard. I feel independent. I feel wanted. But here's some cool news. Like, the reason why they don't talk that way is because, one, the parents don't model high level emotional education to them. So you don't know what you don't know. You can't talk in a way unless someone's modeling it for you. Number two, schools won't teach it. That's the potential name for my book that's going to be coming out. Is we don't teach young people, and no one taught us really what are our feelings. And there's more feelings than feeling good or bad or angry or anxious, right? Those are such stupid words. Like, there's so many more words than words like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I can see you probably felt very powerful. Maybe you didn't even realize it. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you think?
I'm more curious as to why what is the point of us diagnosing that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Lots of reasons. What's the point of diagnosing or using pointed words. Is that what?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, a gazillion.
In this category of feeling powerful in high school.
Okay, so here's a few reasons. I could go on and on. It's a whole nother podcast. So here's what we do as parents. To answer your question, is we do a lot of reactive parenting.
Oh, yes.
Where we don't really think before we react. Children do this. Children are extremely reactive. And then you ask them, why did you do? And they say, I don't know, right? Because they don't know themselves. So if we want to be really wise, modern, positive parents, authoritative parents, we've got to really know ourselves, know what our desires are, know what our buttons are. And I'm going to walk you through some of these steps in this podcast. So if somebody were to see something in a child's party or a barbecue or on a lacrosse field, and they're going to get their buttons pushed like you did in this situation, right?
Sure.
So you could just, option A, you could just react. Option 2 is you can say some blame word, like I feel angry right now.
Yeah.
Or you could, option 3, you could say, what am I really feeling right now? What am I really feeling in this moment? And you can.
But then what am I supposed to do with that info? Once I figure it, let's say I'm in high school,
once
I'm
you
going
have
back.
Info, once you have the info, then you're actually much able to then better respond in a non-reactive, wise way. So if you're able to talk to yourself, well, what am I feeling right now? My kid's being forced to apologize and he's not apologizing. So crap. Well, what am I feeling right now?
Oh yeah. Anger, frustration, disappointment, letdown.
Right. So now you have, at least in your family,
disrespect,
2 very emotional men in this room.
Yeah.
Your son's very emotional and you're very emotional. So we need the adults to please stand up. Right.
Right. Yes.
Isn't that parenting?
Yes.
If I were to go into my daughter's room at age 14 and be like, hey, new rule, no candy in the house.
Right.
That's it. And if you do, here's the consequences. It's clear that part of this has to do with me. It's a lot about me. This is what I want. It makes me feel good. This doesn't make me feel good. So much of parenting, we react because it's really about us. We're doing things that make us feel good because we don't really know ourselves.
Got it. Even though in that situation, you are trying to protect them from rotting their teeth out, right?
Sure, you might have good intentions. But so much of parenting has to do with stuff that comes out of ourselves, actually has to do with not so much what's best for the kid, not so much of what's best for growing wisdom in them. It's actually reactive parenting is so much about what makes me feel better in the moment based on my own feelings.
So I want to get back to the conversation with my kid in a moment. In this situation, I'm going to go back and I would say that is the way I guess I felt power was being inclusive and included in different realms of the school and being somewhat known. And that would, if I were to look at it that way, I could say yes.
There you go. And I could actually it might take you 5 minutes, but we could actually ask you, tell us 2 or 3 more words that you really felt or, experienced in high school, positive words, negative words. Let's just keep moving on because this is such a key part to parenting, Jordan. Understanding how common it is for us parents to feel powerless.
So what about you? Can we circle it back to you? Are there moments where you have craved power?
Well, if I think about my childhood, one of the main things I think about as somebody who's played around with a lot of words is, yes, I feel very powerless in my childhood growing up, very powerless. And that has to do with a gazillion different stories that are popping up in my head regarding me feeling really powerless in my own home, not having a voice around my own mother, me feeling very powerful in the basketball court as a kind of a star basketball player, then going to a huge high school and not becoming a star anymore because I'm now around high level competition, feeling very powerless. Who am I then? Who am I going to be known as? Why do so many young people get into partying, alcohol, drugs, vaping, violent shenanigans, womanizing? Well, it actually has to do with power. It has to do a lot with power. It makes that type of behavior makes them feel powerless. Why do so many young men, especially, love video games. Why? Well, I'll tell you right now. It's not because of the colors or the dopamine.
It's not because of the dopamine.
It's because of power.
Because they have power in that game.
Imagine you go to your
Yeah.
middle school and you have to wear a mask and you're insecure around yourself, around girls. You have acne on your face. You have freaking braces and you're a weird middle school dude.
Yeah.
And you have a hard time getting in or fitting in. And then you go to your home life and yeah, you don't have a perfect home life. Welcome to the club. And then somebody gives you this little handheld device with tons of colors and sounds, and you have a million games to pick from, and you have a challenge, and you accomplish the challenge, and you feel so good, and then you fail, but then you can try again, and you get it, you win, you feel so powerful, you feel masculine, right? Makes sense.
Yeah. That does make sense. So will people, and maybe you can give personal experience in this or not, but we can ask a general broad question. Like when you were a kid and you felt powerless in your home, would you then, since you felt powerful in the basketball court, kind of go above and beyond to make sure your power was known since it wasn't known here?
Super common. So I had numerous, just like you did too, very common for us. You can even go back and for you as you listening, you can even go back on your history, like a little Netflix episode, and you can probably see how there's seasons of your life you craved power and then you found power, because that's what humans do. You will not sit in that powerless state. You will find power. Even right now, here's a simple way of understanding it. We all get to make a choice. Whether you're 7-year-old Jordan's son or you're 77, we can all find power in healthy ways or in unhealthy ways. Well, you will find it. Even watching Netflix and just being a total couch potato has power, right?
Golly, yeah.
This is one of the big words that helps us understand human behavior. Remember, it's not about what it's about. It's always about what's underneath it. So much of what's happening with our kids' poor behavior because they found unhealthy ways to experience power in their life. And you can't blame them because everyone wants to feel it. So yes, so for me, going back, let's time my story with your story. I was a college student who was thriving as a stand-up comedian and was thinking that was going to be my career, my calling. It was all like it was not professional. And I started volunteering with young people. And then I started volunteering and I started working in a nonprofit, and I met this dude named Jordan and all these other kids, and I felt very powerful. Like, this is my purpose. I'm a young dude and they like me, they respect me, and I'm going to make a positive influence in someone's life. And somebody did it for me. Somebody mentored me. His name was Rich. And now it's my job to pass it forward. And I feel so powerful. And that would be an example of feeling powerful in healthy ways.
That's a healthy way. Yes. I was going to say, because when you say the term, do you feel powerful? To me, it has a negative connotation, but that's very positive.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, you tell me, if I don't know if you can think of something on the spot. Tell me you're going back to your middle, high school, college. Tell me a story of how you felt powerful. You found power in a positive way, and you felt
here's something so simple.
Negative or toxic way.
Okay, so simple is me and a buddy in high school. We're driving around our little town of Scripps Ranch in San Diego County, and we see someone on the side of the road with their boat, and they just blew a tire. We pulled over and we felt like helping, and we helped that individual, and we were there helping, but I felt good. I was like, I don't know. See, and I wouldn't allocate that to feeling powerful, but it made me feel like I did some kind of good. So maybe there is some power there.
It is absolutely about power. And we need to highlight that to our sons and daughters and bring it to their attention that they get to make the choice. I took a weed whacker to my property and because it's springtime here, and freaking A, that sucked. Weed whacking sucks. Oh my gosh. I actually used a lawnmower on a lot of it. And Jordan, I was going over some rocks, and one rock about the size of a baseball, it went into the freaking lawnmower. It spit out and it almost hit me in the balls. It hit me in the upper thigh, and it hurt so bad. I was like, what have I done? Could that have hit me in the eyeball? Because I don't know. But now I can actually look at my property right now through my windows, and I can see I still got a ways to go, but I feel powerful. Weed whacking, it's a healthy way. Lawn care is a healthy way that I feel powerful. I feel very powerful in my business. I feel powerful doing this podcast.
Now, can I change the term? Would it be certainty, having certainty in your life? Is that another term for powerful? Because
I do not think so. Some people crave certainty and predictability, and some people crave spontaneity. And that's
because if my wife gets upset, she goes straight to cleaning because she has a sense of power over that surface and cleaning it in that moment. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought it was like a sense of certainty.
Right. So this is why we're really not talking about weeds right now. We're actually talking about parenting. We're talking about the human condition to thrive power. That's why authoritarian parents are using power, because they want it, they crave it. They've convinced themselves that they need to use this much power with their kids. And this is why here's another way of saying the same thing. Okay, so as a parent coach, I give people tools. When we come to the Ask the Family Coach section, I'm going to give you 4 tools, but I could give you all the greatest tools in the world, but it won't matter. It won't matter unless you have the emotional understanding, the capacity to thrive in the emotions so you can use those tools, right?
Correct.
I'm still trying to answer that amazing question you asked me 5-10 minutes ago. Why does this matter?
I remember asking, why does diagnosing and using this specific verbiage and breaking down how you feel so specific, what is that going to do to change me? And I think that is what the answer is. It is, once I have an understanding of what it is, then I can know how my actions, what causes my actions moving forward.
This is really right. Say the same thing a different way. You're going to get some tools on the Sean Donohue show from Mr. Jordan and I. Join the Parents Club, you're going to get a gazillion tools. And you're going to get tools to how to thrive in the emotional challenges of parenting and marriage and relationships. And then you're also going to get some action steps, but you can't do one without the other. Isn't that interesting?
Right. Okay, so I want some action steps. Can we ask the family coach?
Yeah, man, let's ask the family coach.
Okay.
Man, we could rap about power we could go on, and actually still would like to in this, if that's okay. So, all right, man. We don't have a jingle yet, and imagine a jingle coming in.
Ask the family coach. Ding, ding, ding. I don't know. I got to figure out something catchy. All right. So in that moment, I'm asking for an apology for my 7-year-old kid.
Oh, okay. All right.
Got in a tiff.
Yeah.
It's me, my son, the other kid that was in the tiff, and his dad, and we're sitting there and we're saying, what is going on? Okay, we're sick of it. Enough. You guys are friends. You need to move on. Are we ready to move on? They say yes. Okay.
Right.
Apologize. One says sorry. Mine does not.
So, okay. So, right. Did you, it doesn't really matter. But allow me to ask, and it doesn't matter because it really doesn't matter because this is, but what happened here? Give us 20 seconds. What did your son do?
Okay, so from what I've learned, which, as you know, it's hard to diagnose a situation with 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
I tried to be the smart Sean Donohue, my inner Sean Donohue coming out. I'm like, okay, I really need to get to the why, because I know it's not what's on the surface. So why did this happen?
Okay.
I got an answer. Well, Caden asked for me and him to wrestle. Okay. So then we went and wrestled on the trampoline.
The kid asked Caden to wrestle.
I think supposedly
2 7-year-old dudes wrestling.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So then the wrestling was done. Okay, we're moving on. We're going to the couch to play video games.
Okay.
Then the other child started beating up Caden, who was playing video games. And then it got in a situation where they're fighting.
Beating up, was he just continuing to wrestle?
Yeah, probably.
Face.
A mix of both. Okay. So then I asked, why did you keep doing this to the other kid? And he said, because I thought we were still wrestling. And then Caden's like, no, we clearly said we're done. And he kept going. And then the other kid was like, well, to be honest, they were making fun of me. And I'm like, okay, were you making fun of him? And then it goes to, no, we weren't making fun of him. What are you talking about? Okay. So why is this happening? And then they got into a tiff.
All right, man. All right. So first step when you think about power struggles, how to approach them, whether it's this topic, whether it's a topic like hygiene, whether it's a more elevated teen topic. Here's 4 action steps. The first thing you want to do is the most important thing. You can't do anything else until you've done step 1, and that's to regulate your own emotions.
Good call. Yes. Which I felt like I did in the moment.
Take a breath. It really sounds like you did.
I was trying to be as clear and calm as possible for as long as possible.
You really have to realize that, parenting is probably the most emotional thing that you and I will ever do. It's way even more emotional than marriage and romance, because there's such a shift in power.
Yeah.
Oh my God, power, how we want it. We have it. They want it. And we're just so emotionally connected to these kids. They mess us up and they push our buttons in ways that no other human being does. So you've got to talk to yourself. What's happening inside of me right now?
Okay.
How do I want to approach this? It's almost like another way of saying this is to counsel yourself. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. And you're doing this in microseconds, by the way.
Microseconds. Yeah, because 2 poor choices would, in parenting would be passive, permissive parents, just avoiding it, going and avoiding it, going on your phone at a barbecue, drinking too much. Just, this is a teaching moment, and these kids need parenting, and you stepped up to the plate.
Okay.
Right. And the other extreme would be you just going in there and using power too much. Like I tell people, I have a class on how to thrive with power struggles. And part of the class says, like, if you're really struggling with your 7th grade and up, it's probably because you're struggling with sharing power.
So therefore, do we as parents need to give more power in situations like that?
Key part of raising tweens and above is sharing power with them. This is all scientifically based research evidence of how authoritative parenting is about sharing power. Avoidant passive parenting is about giving up power, not using your power wisely. Authoritarian parenting, on the other extreme, is a parent using their power too much, overpowering the child based on what the parent wants, right?
Is there any moment in that situation where I should have been like, you know what, he doesn't want to apologize, it's fine, keep playing?
Absolutely.
And not address it.
Are not healthy. They don't work, and we have evidence of that right here. Yes. It actually does some interesting damage and positive things with that. Let's move on to step 2. Step 2 again has to do with the parent's mindset. Mindset would be, how do I really build connection right now? Connection before correction. Connection before correction. Now, it really sounds like you and this other dad tag team, and you actually did this. You sat the dudes down and you asked some questions. What's going on here? What's happening? You were present with them. You built a connection. That's the way you tell the story, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you didn't. You just come in there, you make decisions, you make punishments, you make judgments. You're not really listening. You're not helping. Essentially, you probably played the role of, do you feel like you played the role of referee in this situation?
Yes, I played the role of referee. Yep.
Right. Not a big fan of that. Don't play the role of referee with your kids. They don't need referees. They need coaches. So take off that jersey with the white and black stripes and put on a coaching jersey, which it sounds like you did, actually. So during this time of connection before correction, you want to remind yourself of my voice in this podcast. The goal here is really about building win-wins here. How do I get a win out of here? Is this a teaching moment? Remember, teaching moments don't normally happen in the moment, but this is, you pull the dudes to the side and you're kind of doing this. Sound good?
Yes.
Any thoughts, questions?
Question would be, would a win-win be, okay, he gets to stay at the party because I was going to force him to go home. Okay, he gets to stay at the party, but you'd no longer get to play in the basement.
Step three, we're not even on that. You're already jumping ahead to.
Well, I figured that would be a win-win.
Boundaries. You're already, if you were to say you can't play in the basement, you're actually controlling this child, which there's a time and a place to control a 7-year-old. But you already jumped ahead, and that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're Step three is something I try to do every day in almost all my relationships, even my friendships. It's called empathetic limits. Empathetic limits is when you're really listening to your children. You're listening to a 14-year-old girl talk about how much she wants candy in her bedroom, how she earned money. She should be able to buy whatever she wants, dress how she wants, do what she wants. Or you're listening to a 7-year-old talk about why he did that.
Right.
It's very key to have empathy for them. Now, empathy is really hard, especially think of it this way. The better a listener, the more empathy you have, it's like a math problem. The more empathy you have for your kids, like building that connection, having empathy and validation, then the more stuff you're going to hear. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Better listener, the more stuff you're going to hear.
Correct.
This is where it kind of gets funny. The more empathy you have, the more stuff you're going to hear, which means the more stupid stuff you're going to hear.
That's right. That's right.
No matter what age they are, the more dumb stuff that you're going to hear, which
is good, right? Because then you're talking.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You're building connection. But then it gets challenging. The more you're going to get triggered, you're going to get your buttons pushed.
And you have to therefore go back to step one, control your emotions.
Right. Right. Which is why this thing called parenting is so gray and so complex. All right. So now it's called empathetic limits because you're setting a limit. Hey, how can I help you feel better? What can I do? How can I support you with this candy situation? Well, just let go. Just let me do what I want. Leave me alone. It's my money. It's my candy. I can't do that for you. That's not going to work for me. Well, how can I support you, son? Just let me vape instead of my life. What does it even matter to you what I do outside the house? You don't know what I'm going through. I have anxiety and depression.
Right.
Just let me get whatever grades I want. Who cares if I have S? What does it matter to you? Right.
Right.
Who cares that I want to wear this or do this?
Therefore,
limits, but you can still. Kids need limits. They need a parent to say, look, this is where I'm at. This is the boundary. This is the limit. I cannot support you passing this. Right. That's what society does. Kids learn limits in the school. They also learn limits in the home, but they also learn empathy and emotional connection in the home. Schools won't teach that.
That's true. So what if he goes to the next step and you tell the kid, I can't let that happen.
Mm-hmm. So
then they say, well, I don't care what you want.
Your next step would be, right. Well, that's where it gets very gray. And I can give you more tools for that on this episode as well as other ones, because by you doing this emotional connection, you're sending them a lot of messages.
Yep.
You're sending a message. I care about you. I care what you want. I'm on your team. You're sending a message of trust. You can trust me. That when the ish hits the fan, you can trust me to be cool about this, to be the adult in the relationship, to hear you out, to listen to your voice, because you have a voice. You have power in this relationship, and you're only 7.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's really good.
Tell me things like, well, what do I do with my 16-year-old? If you start young, you're putting yourself in a position to have a more positive relationship with your teenager.
Right.
Shared power. Good news is whether you're turning 16 or 26, you can always shift in parenting and you can make quick shifts. All right. So the next step would be coaching, not controlling. This is where the coach steps in. How do you coach him? And here's a few things, and I'll tell you what I did with my daughter with the candy situation. So here's some coaching. So, all right. So we got a situation, 7-year-old Caden. Instead of telling him what to do, you could say, what do you think we should do here? Well, I don't want to apologize. I feel like I did anything wrong. Okay. I guess that makes sense. But we can ask him, other boy, we'll call him Jake. I don't know his name.
Sure.
Protect his privacy. We'll call him Jake. Jake,
sure.
Do you want Caden to apologize? We could ask Caden, or you can ask Jake. Jake may say, no, it's no big deal. Or I get it. Or Jake may like, yeah. I'm like, okay, Jake, why? Why do you want to apologize? And we'll see what Jake says. So we're not solving these problems for these boys, but we're like scaffolding. We're building a scaffolding outside of their house and asking them. This is kind of how you work through these topics, because if you force them to apologize, you're controlling them. You're not coaching them. Yeah,
I like that. I know my son would have said, because he was in a situation where I asked him a couple of things and he just said, he shrugged. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, and I'm like, well, if you don't know like what to do, then do we need to go home? Because then I thought I was being very wise. I was like, I know the candy or sugar or just the lack of sleep is getting to him and he can't function properly. So we need to. That's a wise
choice to what to do next. And I'm just not ready to do that next right now I'm seeing if my coaching of these two dudes
Okay.
solve this problem.
We'll solve the problem. Okay.
Right.
I
So
like
I'm
that.
not
Yeah.
using my power. I'm not putting my hands on them. I'm not punishing them. I'm seeing if they can figure it out together, which is actually the key to solving sibling rivalry either, is helping them to give them the tools to solve these problems, share feelings, care for each other's feelings together. Because think about it, that's actually what we do as adults. As adults, we don't take each other's phones away. We don't ground each other. We actually try to make amends and reconcile. And some of us do it better than others. And if you're going to be in friends with someone, well, then you're going to have to learn the art of reconciliation. And that's kind of now what this is about. It's actually not about what it's about. It's not about them hitting each other at all. Right now, what is it about is, do they want to make amends? Do they want to care for each other? Do they want to do what's right to heal this up and move on?
So how did the candy situation play out?
So going back to before I do the candy situations, you could say, so how are we going to solve this problem? And if you really feel like, let's say, like, for example, let's say he really did hit or abuse a kid. Say, well, do you feel comfortable apologizing to him, son? Say, no. I say, well, now you've moved that shift from that listener role to the speaker role.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, I don't feel comfortable staying at this party. You know, I feel sad. Now you're sharing feelings, not logic. I feel sad. I feel uncomfortable because my son just, did this at a party, and I just don't feel comfortable being in the party anymore. Like, I feel like this isn't working for me. So if you don't want to apologize, that's your choice, but it would help me to feel better staying at this party. Right. And this how you use it with siblings is really great. Hey, I would love for you to apologize to your sibling. I don't want to. Okay, well then why don't you want to? Okay, well then maybe let them cool down, come back 20, 30 minutes later, or even the next day. Say, hey, have you had time to think about it? Do you want to go make amends? I don't really even a big fan of the word apologize, because really it's not about that. It's about making amends. There's a lot of different ways to make amends and reconcile without saying that weak sauce, I'm sorry, which is one of the stupid, most overrated phrases in the whole English language.
That's good.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, it's good.
We've never taken a class in the art of apology. There's an amazing book out there called The Love Language of an Apology by Dr. Gary Chapman, the same guy who wrote the 5 Love Languages. It's a brilliant book. In fact, it actually tells you there's 5 languages that people like to receive apologies. It's very fascinating. I'll just tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, it's kind of random.
Sure.
Right. Some people, and then you tell me out of these 5, Jordan, how do you like receiving apologies? All right. Number 1, let me see if I memorize the theme of the book, is I'm sorry. Some people love that. I do not.
I do not.
Number 2, I was wrong.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Some people love that.
It's powerful.
Number 3, tell me more about how you're feeling or how I hurt you. Right?
Okay.
I think this is the gist of the book. I should probably Google this.
These are good though.
So like 12 years since I read the book. Number 3,
number 4.
Number 4. Thank you. How can I make it up to you? How can I make amends? Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite.
Oh, I haven't got to the 5th one.
I know you have it.
So what do you mean by 4? How can I make amends?
Yeah, like it shows the person who's apologizing that they're willing to go above and beyond to make sure you are okay than just saying, I'm sorry. I don't care if you're okay, but I'm going to at least throw my apology.
Right.
But if you come and say, how can I make things better? It shows that you're going to go, you're not only apologize, but you're willing to take the next step to make sure it's better.
Mm-hmm. And I'm blanking on the 5th. So next time Jordan talks, I'm going to open my phone, I'm going to Google it, and I'm going to get back to you. So,
okay.
So yes. So here is in conclusion, if a child is going to kind of respond very negatively to you and not care for this Jake character, not make amends, not work with you, not do a win-win after you've done all this stuff to work with them, well, then would be a time for natural consequences, right? Like I tried working with you here. I tried. And then you would think, what is best for the situation? Because it actually could be best to not leave the party and just move on. Because let's say you're having a good time. Because that's kind of ruining your party.
One night a week to hang out, right?
it might be best to say, look, this is such a situation where it doesn't feel right staying at the party, because I want to make this a teaching moment. I want to make, I'm so clear what happened. This is a time for me to send a message to my son that he doesn't have to apologize, but this is a part of being a healthy young man, is the art of, making amends, taking responsibility, right? And so let's go back to the story. So here's what I did. So with my daughter, I realized with this, my wife and I were getting this cycle of arguing with her about this. And she was even hiding stuff, lying to us, arguing. She's not a big hider or liar, so that's kind of exaggerated that. But I was realizing this is hard in a relationship. Remember, it's not about what's about. So I'm seeing the relationship go downhill over candy.
Right.
Isn't that stupid?
Yeah. But it's not about candy, Sean.
It's not. So I worked my tools and something very unusual came out of it, something very positive. So one of the last action steps is, after coaching, not controlling, is let's make a deal based on trust. Let's make a win-win. Now that is the key to all healthy relationships, are win-wins. Every relationship in business, love, romance, marriage is built on a win-win. Let's work together. And so to cut to the very end of the story, we made a deal based on trust. And I asked, here's the deal. We will let you buy candy with your own money, but we need to be able to trust you that, one, you're not abusing candy. Like, you're not going to eat too much of it. Two, you're not going to give any to your sisters. We have to trust you that you're going to manage your own candy and you're not going to give them to your much younger sisters at the time. Right?
That's good.
Three, if candy is going to start becoming an issue, and you're abusing this trust or this relationship with candy, then this deal is off. Temporary deal. Here's the big one. We don't want candy to get in the way of this relationship or us. So we'll try this for a period of time. But if you get cavities on any of your teeth, which she's never had one at the time, then you have to pay for your own cavity fillings.
Yeah.
So how much do you think it costs to fill a cavity and have dental cleaning when you're 14 and you're a nanny? How much is probably what do you think it costs out there in Georgia?
Is she allowed to use your insurance?
Oh, no. I mean, she's got to pay out of pocket, man.
Out of pocket? I don't know, $130.
Probably, I think it was about $250 for a cavity filling.
Woo!
That's killing. So she agreed. Okay, that sounds fair. Natural consequences, right?
What?
So this is a great thing. Like, you're always telling your kids, your high school kids, I have to pay for these cavities. Well, no, you don't.
Right.
College kids, you don't have to pay for their poor choices.
Right.
So good news. My daughter is now 17 and she's never once had a cavity. Number two,
it's amazing.
That candy phase phased out. Number three, this is a win for the Donohue family, because it really sent a message to her that we honor your boundaries, we honor your power, and we're going to work together on these topics. And we just continue to have win after win on these topics to develop a win-win relationship based on trust. And so now I have a 17-year-old who is not a perfect child, and I'm not a perfect parent, but there's a ton of trust and shared power between a 17-year-old young woman and her family. Pretty cool.
That's amazing. That is very, very cool. And did it blossom into the wardrobe stuff too? You were saying dress where I want.
Every hour. So there's battles that we have picked and there's battles that we do not pick. So for example, to be very vulnerable here, I'm not comfortable with my daughters wearing crop tops.
Yeah.
And baggy jeans. Very, very popular here in California. But my oldest daughter she wears crop tops, and I support her. I've never said one negative thing about it. I need to be honest with you. It's hard for me to look at, but that's not a battle that I'm fighting for. If she wants to get blue hair, I would let her get blue hair. She's her own independent person. I'm picking other battles, and I'm winning those battles that I want to win. And I'm giving up the ones that I really don't want to win. So she feels powerful, but I feel good and I feel powerful. Win.
All right. I looked it up while you were talking.
Oh, thanks.
The 5 apology languages.
Okay. Yeah.
Expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, genuinely repenting, requesting forgiveness.
Okay, that sounds good, but that doesn't sound the same as
Dr. Gary
Chapman's book.
Yeah. 5 Ways to Apologize Properly. I'm just looking it up. Gary Chapman.
Yeah, that's definitely not the same. That's the same book. That's not the same. Let me see. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Let me show you. Oh yeah, here's the difference.
Okay.
Expressing regret means I apologize.
Yes.
Right? Or I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So what you did was you articulated the deeper meaning, and I got specific. So I want you to answer it again. And again, this is a power struggle we get into. We force our kids to apologize, or we just let them walk all over us without apologizing and showing any care. One of the keys to any healthy parenting relationship is it should feel like a win-win, and it should be a mutual caring relationship. That's what the goal is here. Number 2, Jordan says, accepting responsibility. I was wrong. Number 3, making restoration. What can I do to make it right? And so you're saying you like that one?
I like that one. What can I do? Go above and beyond, not to just say I'm sorry, but to make it right. Sometimes it's time. Sometimes you can't do anything. It's just let time heal.
Number 4, genuinely repenting. I'll try not to do that again. It's nice.
Yeah.
Nice thing to say, because you can't promise you're not going to do it again.
Right.
Number 5 is requesting forgiveness. Will you please forgive me? That's bold and dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your biggest one is what you said.
I think going number 3 on that list, going above and beyond. Yeah. What can I do to make things right?
Yeah. And why does that hit you so hard in the heart? What do you like?
Because if anyone's been in a situation where you think you deserve an apology, or your friendship was shattered because of something that happened, and if that someone came over and just said, I'm sorry, even if it was through like in person, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You could really feel it, but that I'm sorry is going to let me know you are showing up to knowing what you did was wrong. But then that's it. But saying, what can I do to make this better? It's not only am I sorry, but I want to stay friends with you. Yeah, I want to make sure.
Teach in school. They should teach
they should.
School.
They should teach that.
Gosh, I wish I was in charge of every school in the whole country. Mine's the same. Making restitution. But for me, my language is not what can I do to make it right. I would say, well, I would just tell you more about how I feel. That would help me make it right. So I want to be able to, I want someone to ask me, how do you feel, Sean? How are you feeling? And I don't know why I feel so strongly about that. Could it be that nobody ever asked me about my feelings when I was a kid? Maybe. Could it be just, this is who I am as a 43-year-old man? Could it be that I spent so much of my freaking life caring for people's feelings, right? Clients, my own families, that I want some care too? That's probably it, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to overanalyze it. I just like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it shows that people are caring, that they care about you.
And
they want to go and dive into your life a little bit.
I have feelings too.
Yeah.
That's the parenting hack right there. Start them when they're young. Say it to them when they're 15. If you start talking like this to your 15-year-old and you never really talk this way, you would expect a season of transition. Them rolling their eyes at you, them being like, why would I care about you? That's weird. Why are you being a sissy? Why are you talking like that? This is vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right? If power is over here, powerlessness is on the other side, but also what's on the other side is vulnerability.
That's good. That's really good.
So we're being kind of vulnerable sitting there with 2 7-year-olds, helping them to work it out. Right? It's kind of, you're coaching them. I mean, it's vulnerable because you're not taking charge like somebody would maybe in 1980.
Yeah. And I'm going to do better. I'm going to try and make sure I lock that away to where when I get into the next situation, which honestly will probably be this week or this weekend, I can make sure I'm not just, I know I can cover my emotions, which is good.
Yep.
Up to a certain point. Once I start disrespecting my wife, my emotions will just trigger. So I need to make sure to keep
like Will
calm.
Smith with Chris Rock.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's your kryptonite. Yep.
So I can do that. I can ask questions, but then I need to put it back on them if I'm trying to force something, which I usually try to force something verbally.
And then when you ask a 17-year-old, what do you think we should do? A common response from them is in the beginning, it's going to be, I don't know.
Right.
And we know why they're saying that, because they don't know, because no one's ever coached them on what to do. This is why
give suggestions. Do
you won't hear very much. My kids don't say, I don't know to me. You tell me why. Why do I?
Because you've been coaching them since they were 2 years old.
They know. They may not want to do it. They may not want to make amends, but intellectually they have the tools in their toolbox on how to make amends, how to make things right, how to defuse power, power conflicts. And that's a great word, diffusing it. I was watching the movie Fatherhood last night on Netflix with Kevin Hart. Really good movie. I fell asleep in the middle. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
And one of the mom characters.
Really good movie. I fell asleep.
Easier to catch a honeybee. There's some saying, I don't know it. I'm butchering it. It says you catch a lot more bees with honey than with vinegar. You heard that?
No.
It probably makes sense. Not bees, probably flies. Catch more flies. So think about this. How do you solve parenting power struggles? Well, with honey, not with vinegar. Using these tools to build connection. Yeah, it's going to take time out of your day, maybe out of a barbecue. I'd love to hear. We probably, maybe next episode, ask your wife, Danny, what did she say in that 45-minute conversation?
We talked about it.
Yeah. What did she tell you any nuggets of what did she do?
Yeah. I don't know if we have a lot of time in it, but basically he felt very, what's the word she used? Embarrassed because the boy that he got in a fight with actually was 6 and was more physical than him during the confrontation. And so he felt and he knew he wasn't supposed to hit. Yeah. So he purposely didn't hit when he wanted to hit.
Oh my God.
So the kid basically kind of attacked him and he knew he would get in trouble if he hit. So he pulled his punch. He didn't swing. And so he felt.
Makes sense. So he felt very powerless. He's getting beat up by a 6-year-old. And now I'm just trying to make up a story in my head. He's like, well, now I would apologize to him.
Right.
And I'm actually the one who.
Correct.
I did well. I had self-control and I let a young child hit me. That's oh my gosh. This is what a story. Okay, let's transition to our last few segments of this podcast. What's the deal, Jordan Still? Jordan, this is the time for you to give us your thoughts on something in society or culture or parenting. What's your thoughts, man? All
right. So I had this idea to talk about the movie industry and kids movies specifically. And there's a lot of, it actually relates a lot to, what we're talking about right now, because the way Disney and Pixar and DreamWorks and all these animated movies, they are not only great for the kids, but they're great for the adults. There's comedy in there, but there's messages, subliminal messages in there that are groundbreaking. And so some of them are really great and they help teach our kids some of these lessons, but we need to make sure that we're doing a parenting part and actually.
I see where you're going with this. I think I know where you're going. I'm excited to hear what you're going to say. I have no idea. Please continue.
So the newest movie is, I don't know who makes it, but it's called Turning Red. Have you seen Disney. That? It's on Disney.
Yes, I saw it.
Turning Red. It's about this panda who is a young child and eventually in its childhood turns into a quote unquote teenager and turns red.
Hold on, I got to correct you. It's not about a panda. It's about a little girl, a middle school girl who becomes a panda. She has a curse. You said it's about a panda.
Correcting. Well, the kids had it on in the background and I kind of glanced over.
Asian American middle school girl.
Yes.
And she gets this family curse, and when she loses her temper, gets angry, she turns into this 10-foot red panda. Please continue.
So I didn't know what this meant until we went out to dinner, and a lot of the parents were talking. It's about these young children.
Yes.
Beginning their menstrual cycle.
Okay.
And I was like, that's what that movie's about. And they're like, yeah, it goes. And then we got in this whole conversation of, is it good? Is it bad? You know, who thinks it's good? Who thinks it's bad? That these movies are teaching kids certain subjects that maybe the parents should be teaching. But let's be real. Me and you were having a conversation about being an intelligent parent, and there's not a lot of people who have these tools. And so these movies basically are becoming a parental figure for these kids sometimes, you know, and they're teaching kids certain things. So I don't want to say my thoughts, whether I think it's good or whether it's bad, but I was just like, what is the deal with these movies, and what level are we getting to? Because there more and more messages are coming out. It's very interesting the time we're in.
So the Disney Channel has traditionally shown parents as total idiots. I think we talked about that last episode. We did. They're either dead or they're morons. And the parents in this movie are portrayed very, very poorly, very negatively. And the girls end up lying, hiding, and dehumanizing the parents. And we've already seen this on the Disney Channel a million times. We just haven't seen it in an official Disney film. And so, yes, there is an uproar of this that's happening because you're seeing millions and millions and millions of young children are being, you know, exposed to this. And what's the deal on that? It's something to think about for sure.
So I think the deal is just, I think parents need to be very aware of the different messages. And I think obviously you could go as little as YouTube, make sure you guys are monitoring that like crazy because of the stuff that's coming out, but also into just Netflix and Disney and, you know, Hulu and whatever you're watching, just to be a mindful parent and keep an eye on what's being told to their children.
I think movies like that are just really, if you don't want to be that parent that pauses the movie, like, let's talk about this. That's the teaching moment.
I know.
But there's so much good teaching moments when our kids are exposed to, you know, things or non-traditional things or things that are different for you to use this as a teaching moment. And dude, well said. Great point great bringing that up, Jordan Still. Thank you, man. Love it. Love it.
All right. So then one of the last segments here, and then we'll wrap things up, is the 30-second success story. I'll go first and then we'll go to yours. And I would just say, after listening to this whole podcast and breaking down my moments from this weekend and the little tiff that my kids got into, my success story is going to go back to talking about how I'm just very grateful to be having a parental partner in this life quest that we're in, because it is so difficult. And my heart goes out to all the single parents out there or the split families. It can be so difficult to try and get this right, because you know, we want to get it right for our kids.
And to have, you're right, you're talking about something really special. Really, it's lucky, it's a blessing that you have a co-parent and that you're on the same page. And she took 45 minutes out of a barbecue to go emotion coach your son. What were they serving at the barbecue? What were you guys eating? One of the things I think about when people think about barbecue.
Oh, you're so funny.
True,
it wasn't brisket. It was just ribs. Just ribs.
Ribs?
Yeah, just the expensive ribs. Baby back pork ribs. So the success is, at the end of this, we get an apology letter on our door from the other kid.
Okay.
And Caden wrote an apology letter too. Okay. However, I would say that's a success, but we forced him to write it. So now I'm going back and it's not a success because we don't need to force him, but it's all good now.
You could ask him, what do you think would be a good idea?
Yes.
He might come up with this on his own.
I like that.
All right. So my success story is a little longer than 30 seconds, but it's a pretty pivotal part of my life. So my junior in high school, 17-year-old daughter, I'm talking a lot, had her junior prom, and she went with a date who was a friend. And the plan was 2 of these girls were going to come back to the house for a sleepover. And I'm like, heck yeah, I want my house to be the fun party house. Bring the 2 best friends over. So it's Saturday night and it's so late at night. I mean, it's like 10:05, right? I'm exhausted on a Saturday night. And in reality, I was actually not feeling well. I was feeling very groggy and very tired. And so I get a text from my wife while I'm in bed by myself, about to fall asleep. And she says, hey, new plan. The girls are coming over and their boy dates too. And talk about emotional. Oh, geez. I know a lot about teen boys, you guys. I probably know more about teen boys and the teen boy brain than anyone you've ever met. And so, a lot of buttons were getting pushed, very scared, feeling very powerless, very unaware, and very concerned that these boys who I don't know are going to be bringing vape, pot, substances into my house. And I know that one of these boys, I've never met him, but I've heard so much bad things about him. Lots of bad things. He's the boyfriend of one of my daughter's friends. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? So then I text my wife and I say, I would really appreciate you checking with me first before you give them the thumbs up to come over. And again, I was half asleep, and I'm not saying this is the best. I didn't handle this the best, but I'm not saying I handled it the worst. I'm just telling the story. So then she comes up and we talk about it. And it was a challenging conversation because I'm so tired and I'm emotional. And now I'm thinking, what do I do here? Because I really don't want boys bringing stuff into my house, but I don't want to be that dad that pulls out a shotgun. Hey boys, you got in the vape, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be that dad that calls up his daughter on junior night. So we need to talk. Who are these boys? What's happening? What are they bringing? Who are they? What's their names? What's their shoe size? Right? I don't want to ruin the vibe. So I was sitting in my bed. I'm like, this is so I send my daughter a text. And I said, hey, honey, sorry to bother you. I'd love to have a short conversation with you about who these boys are and to make sure they're not bringing anything into the house. So can you talk to them or I can talk to them? So classic, my daughter's friend texts me back. Yeah, your daughter Maddie's driving, and this is me. We know the boys. We know most of the boys really well. There's one we don't know, but trust us, nobody's bringing anything into the house.
What were you worried that they were bringing in the house?
Vape, alcohol, drugs.
But there's parents there. Would they still bring it in?
I'm the parent, man, and I'm in my bed. Of course they would.
Is your wife downstairs?
Yeah, no, that's not how it works anymore, man. They'll bring straight up into your house. Oh,
they do?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh,
they're not afraid of parents like maybe they were back in the 80s and 90s, man. No, whoa. And they're very secretive, and it's very easy to hide stuff. And so I'm just not that dad. I'm not just gonna sit back and just let these dudes do that. And so I took my training. I did what I thought was best. And I'm trying to connect with her via text, which I never do, like parenting through text.
That's tough.
So I sent another text to say, I'm just really don't know these guys. And I really, really want to have confidence that someone's talking to them. They're not bringing anything in. Again, the friend texted me back, said, you can trust us. They're not bringing anything in. And I'm at a V in the road. What do I do? And I'm happy to say, I did not do anything. I said, thank you for texting with me. I feel a lot better. Have a great night. And I fell asleep. So I did something so atypical for me. Part of me wishes I got up there to shake these guys' hand. Hey, welcome. I'm 6'2". Like, hey, what's up, dude? How's it going, boy? Right? Show them I'm here. Don't mess with my daughters. Don't mess with my family. Don't mess in this house. But I trusted. I trusted my wife. I trusted my daughter. I trusted these girls, and I trusted myself to control myself. And big success. She had a great time. They didn't bring anything in. And I asked her, are you okay with that text? She's like, yeah, it was okay. Because if I end up talking to her, that might have hurt her feelings or violated her kind of boundaries. You know what I mean? Like,
if you ended up talking to her that evening.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin that vibe.
Yeah.
I already know I know her well enough. She wouldn't have liked that conversation. So I feel good about it.
That's great. Congratulations. You had trust. That was tough.
Thankful that we're both thankful for these women in our lives that we have trust with them. So let's close this show with more gratitude and thankfulness. Tell me, man, let's close our show with an attitude of gratitude. Jordan, what are you thankful for here today?
Oh my goodness. Well, with that conversation, I gotta thank a much more emotional and a much more emotionally calm spouse than I am. Because that 45 minutes that she spent with my son, I could have not done.
That's a lot.
I knew my buttons were going to get pushed, which is why I asked her to take him home, because I was getting to a point where he kept saying no, and I knew I was going to lose my cool, and I don't want to lose my cool. I want to try to keep my cool. And she's got the patience of a saint. And so I am thankful for that, for her.
It's so interesting. That's my thing too. I'm just really thankful for my wife, Danielle. I'm thankful because we had a couple tough moments like that story over the last 2 weeks. We had a couple tough situations where in the past, in our younger years of marriage, it kind of would have been a big blow up and we would have both got into a power struggle together and then felt hurt and powerless. And I'm just thankful to have a wife who we have some pretty serious struggles still of these moments, lots of emotions for both of us, but we're working together as a team to share power with each other and with our kids. And I'm just thankful for her. Thankful for you, man.
Thankful for you too. I learned a lot.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
everybody else did.
Listeners, hey, if you're not following me on TikTok or Instagram, please follow me and this show at The Family Coach. If you're new listener, go to my website, parentingmodernteens.com, and subscribe to get my weekly parenting tips and newsletters. I have a lot of options, awesome things on there. My whole team is available to get private coaching sessions for your teen, tween, or 20 somethings, or I'm here available for private sessions with me, or I hope you all join the Parents Club. Jordan, we did it, man.
We did it.
Lively, spontaneous episode on how to thrive, diffuse, and win in power struggles. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was a lot of fun. Can't wait for episode 3.
Episode 3.
Boundaries.
We're going to be talking about boundaries on episode 3. So stay
That's
strong,
right.
be close, and teach wisdom. And Jordan and I will see you all next time.
See you, everyone.